All right, today is April 25th, 2022. Parker Coleman is going to talk about the games of April 24th, 2022, plus some additional stuff like the Guardians Yankees fiasco in the outfield and Angel Hernandez.
Yeah, I didn't do all the games yesterday, but I will talk about Angel Hernandez.
Okay, an abbreviated schedule of games and some peripherals around the game. Without further ado, Parker Coleman.
So yes, I wanted to talk about the footage of Straw climbing up, the footage from the side, and obviously, I mean, it makes me. It doesn't really change what I have to say. I think that some of these fans, they need their tough guy bluffs to be called. That's basically what Straw did. And unsurprisingly, the guy who was happy that another player got injured is the weakest guy who was there. Um, so yeah, I mean, I still think those are bad people. I don't think that anybody should be defending them. I think it's crazy that there are people defending them, but that's why people think Yankees fans are the worst fan base in baseball. That's just the truth of it. Again, not saying that all Yankees fans are bad. Just saying that the fact that there are so many people defending that guy when he was clearly in the wrong and deserved to be called out, just because he's a fan and Straw's a player, really, it's not good. But I don't want to keep talking about it. I just thought it'd be important to talk about the footage that was released. It won't be. I was just like when Tommy Pham was in the news like 2 days in a row. Like, this isn't Tommy Pham updates, Tommy Pham recaps. This isn't random a-hole in New York recaps either. I got maybe 8 or 9 games done, partially because A, they weren't as interesting as yesterday, and B, as the day before, and B, it's just really, really tough to do this during school. I think there'll probably never be a partial recap like there is today when I am out of school. But I'm not out of school right now. Hang in there for about one more month. I got to do that. But we got the Rockies and the Tigers to start it off. Blackman double scores on the Crone single in the top of the first. Rockies single from Blackman and Grichuk homers to 3-0 lead. Barnhart doubles, RBI single for Meadows, 3-1. In the top of the fourth, Iglesias singles, Joe doubles, a 2 RBI single for Blackman. And then Grichuk makes it, after Grichuk double, McMahon makes it 6-1. And at the bottom of the seventh, the Tigers would score their final run as Barnhart singles, Badu walks, an RBI single for Grossman. Tigers lose the series 6-2. They lose the game 6-2 and lose the series. I feel like the Tigers, that they've always started off these series well. Walk-off win to start a season against the White Sox, lose the next 2 games. An 8th inning home run to win the game against the Red Sox, lose the next 2 games. And then I forgot their last series, but they won this game, the first game of this series, 13-0. Heck, I could actually probably just look and see what their last Yankees. They didn't start that series off well. They won the last game. They didn't start that series off well. But it seems like most of the time so far this year, they've started off a series well, but haven't been able to get the last 2 games. And that's the same thing here. They lost 3-2 yesterday. They lost 6-2 yesterday. They lost 3-2 the day before in the doubleheader. Blackman was 4 for 5 with 2 RBIs and a double. He was the first star. Cool, second star, 6 innings, 4 hits, 1 run, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts. Grichuk was 3 for 4, 2 RBIs, home run, and a double. 6 runs, 11 hits, no errors for the Rockies. 2 runs, 7 hits, no errors for the Tigers. Red Sox Rays. McClanahan, if he was able to go further than Kevin Cash would allow him, he's probably a star. Or a star. He is a really good pitcher. I didn't mean to make it sound like he was bad. He's probably a Cy Young candidate, is what I meant to say. Because I don't think that if you threw 4 to 5 innings per game, that you could probably be a Cy Young candidate. But if you let him go 6, 7 consistently, then he probably is one. Well, for McClanahan, it didn't look very good because in the top of the first, Story would double the lead off. RBI single for Hernandez. 2 more singles by Bogarts and Verdugo make it 2-0. That'll be all for the Red Sox as the Rays score as a Rosarena is hit. Wander Franco walks. Yandy Diaz is hit as well. Bases are loaded. A 2 RBI double for Choi. RBI grounded from Margot. The Rays lead after the inning. It's 3-2. In the bottom of the 6th, Kiermaier and a Rosarena single. Kiermaier would later score on a wild pitch. Diaz would hit a solo shot. Final score would be 5-2. McClanahan was the first start. 7 innings, 6 hits, 2 runs, 7 strikeouts. Choi went 2 for 2 with a 2 RBI double. He was the second star. Diaz was 1 for 2 with a walk. RBI, home run. He was the third star. Red Sox fall to 7-9 after I don't think they started off too well against the Yankees, but it kind of felt like they were playing solid baseball last week. But again, they're playing the Tigers. I mean, who knows? 2 runs, 6 hits, no errors for the Red Sox. 5 runs, 9 hits, no errors for the Rays. Guardians Yankees, nothing to my knowledge happened in this game besides Garrett Cole looking like normal Garrett Cole, and 10 runs for the Yankees. But Judge doubles, Rizzo homers is 2-0. Those would be the only 2 runs that Cole needed, but they would need to score a little more. As Connor Falafa singles, RBI double by Trevino. It's 3-0. That'd be all the runs they need as they won 10-2. Bases loaded after Rizzo doubles. Donaldson is hit towards his walks. Bases are loaded. Fielder's choice for RBI fielder's choice for Hicks. Gallo with an RBI double. Connor Falafa hits a sac fly. It's 6-0. Bottom of the 6th, Trevino walks, Donaldson homers. Bottom of the 8th, Gonzalez singles, Marlon Gonzalez. Locastro homers. It's 10-0. But in the top of the 9th, the Guardians tried to rally. It didn't really work, but they did score a couple runs. Rosario walks, Bradley singles. Guardians scored 2 on a Andres Giménez triple. But the Guardians lose 10-2, get swept. They're looking to redeem themselves today against the Angels. Probably a pretty tough road trip because they had the incident yesterday. Or 2 days ago. I keep on saying yesterday. They had the incident 2 days ago, and then they have to go from New York to Anaheim. That's a long flight. But the Yankees win. They sweep the series 6 2/3, 4 hits, 9 strikeouts, a walk for Garrett Cole. LeMahieu was 3-4, 3 RBIs, a home run double, second star. Rizzo 2-5, 2 RBIs, home run, third star. 2 runs, 6 hits, 1 error for the Guardians. 10 runs, 13 hits, no errors for the Yankees. Giants beat the Nationals 12-3. Nothing a whole lot to say here besides the Nationals aren't very good. We did get it depends on how you look at it. Some people would call it a fun, odd moment. Some people would be disgusted. But Lucius Fox threw up all over the field in the 3rd inning, I believe. And it looked like he threw up popcorn. It was not very good to look at. But the Giants would sweep the Nationals. And you just see how different these 2 teams are. One team's going to be contending for the NL West title with the Dodgers at the bottom of the NL East. Marlins beat the Braves 5-4. I don't have the recap here for this one either. But the Marlins were 7-8. They played pretty solid baseball considering that they went like 67-95 last year. I think if they get a better bullpen and maybe if they can be raised a little bit on offense, they could be a pretty good team and they could make a run at a second wild card spot. The last thing I also want to point out about this is that the Braves, they're 7-10. Again, it's not time to sound the alarm bells because it's still April. I would say at the end of May, if you're not performing well, that's when you need to be in conversations for disappointment or surprising contender. Of course, there are the outliers, like the Braves last year. But usually, you can tell how good the team is after May, when June starts, I would say. But I would also like to point out how many J's there are in the Marlins lineup. There were 7 people with their first names that started with J yesterday. Jazz Chisholm, Jesus Aguilar, Jorge Soler, Jesus Sanchez, Joey Wendell, John Birdie, and Jacob Stallings. The 2 that weren't were Avisail Garcia and Garrett Cooper. But now we have a game that I got to recap, and thank goodness I did, because I might not be able to recap another Cincinnati Reds win until I get out of school. They snapped their 11-game losing streak. Of course, it's the day after I do the history of their longest losing streaks in franchise history. In the bottom of the 1st, Naquin would double. Both Pham and Votto walk. Sac fly for Moran. RBI single for Zenzel. It's 2-0. In the bottom of the 2nd, Lopez and Riddle single. RBI ground out for Naquin. It's 3-0. Goldschmidt would hit a ground rule double, leading to an O'Neill RBI double. Only run of the game for the Cardinals. It's 3-1. Reds respond with a Pham double. Votto walks. He didn't make the starts, but he walked 3 times, which is good to see, especially since he's not batting very well. If you can still get on base, if you're not hitting the ball very well, that's good too. Bottom of the 6th continues as Moran has an RBI single. The Reds snapped their 11-game losing streak. Nick Lodolo looked really good today. He was the first start easily. 5 2/3, 5 hits, 1 run, 7 strikeouts. Colin Moran went 1 for 3, 2 RBIs. Nick Senzel went 2 for 3 with an RBI. 1 run, 7 hits, no errors for the Cardinals. 4 runs, 8 hits, no errors for the Reds. Blue Jays Astros. I'm also glad I got to recap this game because the Astros snapped their losing streak finally, and I will say that Astros Blue Jays will probably be a very, very good ALCS if it happens. it didn't really go my way besides this last game, but it was a really, really tight series with a bunch of. Let's see, we had a go-ahead run score in the top of the ninth on Friday, a go-ahead run score in the seventh on Saturday, and a walk-off home run to win the game on Sunday. So that's pretty good, isn't it? That's a really good series. But we're going to start off with Jerry Lane because he had a very interesting umpiring sign whenever there was a strike. He kind of looked like he was tired and he was just throwing his arm out. And I would love to say that even though he was an odd umpire, that he was actually a good umpire. He really wasn't. He started off well in the first inning, and he slowly went downhill from there. Both the Astros and Blue Jays had rallies that were started by Jerry Lane having a horrible ball call for a walk. So maybe that made the game better, but I still want the calls to be right. Bottom of the second, a bad call lets Diaz walk. I think it was on a two-strike count too, so a 3-2 count. He might have struck out if that was rightfully called a strike, but it wasn't. It was all the way in. Pena reaches down an air by Bichette. Maldonado walks. Bases are loaded. McCormick hits another ball that Bichette can't handle, but it was an infield single, and that's probably right. I don't think Bichette deserved an error on that. He still couldn't handle it though. It's 1-0. Bregman walks with the bases loaded. It's 2-0 on the bottom of the fourth. Springer doubles, eventually scores on the sac fly by Gurriel. It's 2-1. Maldonado walks and Brantley homers in the bottom of the fourth. So that makes it 4-1. Lourdes Gurriel homers. There are a lot of Gurriel brother mentions today. Lourdes Gurriel homers is 4-2. The other Gurriel brother, Yuli, would double and score on the air. It's 5-2. Springer walks, and then Vlad Guerrero Jr. hits a ball that goes about 20, maybe 30 feet, and it just stops, and it's a single. Probably the shortest single he's ever going to have in his career. But that was a big hit because Collins would come up and hit a home run to tie the game on a 3-0 pitch. Nobody was mad because there are different times where you're supposed to swing on a 3-0 pitch, apparently. But yeah, no one was mad. I mean, except for Astros fans, it was very disappointing. They weren't mad that he swung on a 3-0 pitch. They were mad that it was a home run and that the game's tied. And maybe there's like that one old guy that was mad at the 3-0 pitch, but ignore that old guy. In the top of the seventh, the Jays would take the lead as Tapia singles, Espinal doubles. But in the bottom of the seventh, Gurriel would double again, and Diaz would hit an RBI single that was just over the glove. That would take us to the 10th inning. As Guerrero walks, the Manfred runner scores off of a Gurriel double. It's 7-6. But Jerry Pena, he hits a walk-off home run. First walk-off home run, I believe, by a first-year player. Can't count Seth Beer, or you have to count Seth Beer as a rookie because he only played 7 or 6 games last year. Pena was easily the first star because he had the walk-off home run, a home run that the Astros desperately needed. 1 for 5, home run, 2 RBI. Snapped 0 for 13. Collins was 2 for 5 with 3 RBIs. Second star, he had a big home run too. And Lourdes Gurriel Jr. was 2 for 5 with home run, 2 RBI, sac fly, double. Third star. Even though the Astros won, the Blue Jays had 2 stars in there. 7 runs, 10 hits, 2 errors for the Jays. 8 runs, 11 hits, 1 error for the Astros. Rangers Athletics, I should say. That's weird to say one team's name and then go Todd. You understand what I'm saying. But this is going to be one of the shortest recaps ever. So in the bottom of the fourth, Murphy singles, Piscotty homers. I wrote, it's the shortest recap ever, and I still messed up somehow. I put Murphy singles, Murphy homers. There aren't 2 Murphys for the A's. It's only Sean Murphy. And fun fact about Sean Murphy, have you seen the video that when the A's were playing in Tampa, he stuck his butt out for a hit by pitch? Oh, well, somebody posted something, and apparently his OPS has gone up 1,000 points since then. So maybe if you're in a funk like Kyle Tucker is, just stick your butt out at a really bad pitch, and maybe that'll get your OPS up. But Piscotty would homer, hometown hero Piscotty, and the A's would win 2-0. This might be the shortest recap I've ever done. And I couldn't even find another star because Irvin was the first star, 5 innings, 1 hit, 4 strikeouts, 2 walks. Piscotty was the second star, 1 for 3, home run, walk, 2 RBIs, no runs, 4 hits, no errors for the Rangers, 2 runs, 5 hits, 1 error for the A's. A's are back over 500, and the Rangers' 3-game winning streak has been halted. It was basically the opposite of the 2-0 game from the other day when the Rangers won 2-0. So I have 2 more games, and then I'll read off the scores from your phone if that's okay, and give some short little thoughts about them, and then I'll talk about Angel Hernandez and a very funny video I saw. Um, but it's not time to worry about the White Sox, I'll say. Now, granted, I haven't watched nearly as much White Sox baseball as a loyal Chicago White Sox fan. I've seen a few games. I've seen highlights of every game, and yeah. In the top of the first, Tim Anderson leads off with a home run. It's 1-0. In the top of the third, Anderson singles, Abreu and Sheets walk, and RBI for Andrew Vaughn. That makes it 2-0. 2 singles by Polanco and Kepler lead to a sac fly by Urshela. That cuts the lead in half. It's 2-1. Mendick homers. It's 3-1. But then Jose Godoy walks and Buxton homers to tie. Fun fact about Jose Godoy is, first of all, I don't know if that's how you pronounce his name. Is it Godoy? But he was the 20,000th player in MLB history until they had the Negro Leaguers rightfully added to Baseball Reference. Now I don't know what number player he was, and I don't know who the 20,000th player is. But for a little while, he was the 20,000th player in baseball. That's why I remember him, and I'm always going to remember him for that fact, even though I don't really know how to pronounce his name. But Buxton homers, and here's something crazy: is that the Twins with Buxton, Passan tweeted this, and since 2019 they've been 124-73 of Byron Buxton, which is on pace to win 101 games if it was a 162 game season. And I can't remember the specific record they had, but I remember that they'd be on pace to win like 75 games if they played the last season without Buxton. So Buxton is a big, big guy. Not saying he's fat or anything. He's a big guy for the Twins. At the top of the 10th, Grandal singles, and that scores the Manfred runner. But Godoy, he walks again, and Buxton walks it off. It's a 3-run homer, longest walk-off home run in StatCast era, 469 feet. Buxton was easily the first start, 2 home runs, game-tying home run, game-winning home run. That was an easy call. He also had 5 of the 6 RBIs that the Twins had yesterday, so that was also an easy call. Anderson was 2 for 5 with an RBI home run. He was the second star even though his team lost. Urshela was 2 for 3, walk, sac fly, RBI. Third star, 4 runs, 9 hits, no errors for the White Sox. 6 runs, 9 hits, 1 error for the Twins. Last game that I had to recap, and then I'm going to give brief thoughts on Angels Orioles, Royals Mariners, Mets Diamondbacks, Padres Dodgers, and Brewers Phillies. But here's Pirates Cubs, and this is interesting because I'll get to it in a second. But the Cubs start off well, so taking doubles. Later scores on the air. Kepler would walk, RBI single for Schwindel. Top of the second, Setsugo singles, Newman walks, RBI single for Gamble. It's 2-1. Reynolds walks, Hayes doubles, 2 on as Setsugo hits a sac fly to tie it. Newman's RBI double will give them the lead. Diego Castillo singles on the top of the 4th. He would later score on an error. It's 4-2. Happ would homer, making it 4-3, cut the lead in half, but the Cubs can't win. Now, here's the interesting thing. The Cubs outscored the Pirates 29-12 in this 4-game series, and they lost 3 out of 4. The only game they won was a 21-0 blowout. And then I could check, but I know yesterday it was 4-3. There was another game where it was 4-3. It was 4-3, 4-2, 21-0, 4-3. So you can see how that crazy differential happens. Newman was the first star, 2 for 3, RBI double. Happ was the second star, 1 for 3, RBI, 2 walks, and a home run. Gale was the third star, 1 for 3, RBI, and a walk. 4 runs, 6 hits, 2 errors for the Pirates, 3 runs, 10 hits, 1 error for the Cubs. So now we're going to talk about the rest of the games. I didn't do recaps for them. I wish I could have, but I just had so much work to do that it was just overwhelming, and I thought it'd just be easier to do this and then just spitball ideas, especially since some of the games aren't as important. There are a few important games, and I'd say just about every game here is important, but I would say that they're a lot less interesting. The Orioles and the Halos, O's and Halos, Joe Adele hit a grand slam, and the Angels were up 6-0, but the Orioles, they fought back. And they eventually tied it in the 7th. However, Taylor Ward would walk to the bases loaded, apparently, because that's just an Orioles thing to do, is walk the bases loaded when it's a tie game. I mean, every team has done that at some point, but I'm just picking on the Orioles. And the Angels would salvage a game despite basically blowing a 6-run lead. They lost the series, but they did salvage a game, so that's good. The Royals are having pitching troubles, and I see more of the Royals that I remember from last year, because lost 13-7 the day before, and then they lose 5-4 in a walk off in the 12th. As they would have a cool moment when Dozier tied it going to the ninth with a solo home run. But both were able to score on the 10th. Winker hits a single. Mariners currently in first place, 10-6. As they win 5-4. Mets Diamondbacks. As I said, the Mets and Diamondbacks this is probably one of the least interesting, in my opinion. Still a baseball game. It could still be fun. The Diamondbacks made 3 errors yesterday, so that's not very good. This was a rubber match, as the Diamondbacks won the first, won the second game. Mets won the first game. They had won 6-2. Some highlights. Walker homered and J.D. Davis homered. Diamondbacks made 3 errors that made 2 of the runs unearned. The Diamondbacks win 6-2, or they don't win 6-2. They lose 6-2. Padres Dodgers. Dodgers took the series. There isn't a whole lot to say here besides the fact that Clayton Kershaw was really good again, and the Dodgers scored a lot of runs. Freeman homered, Ballinger homered again. A few RBI groundouts, and the Dodgers win 10-2. The NL West looks pretty good, like a pretty good race. I don't expect the Rockies to stay in there, but currently, here's how it is: Dodgers are first, they're 11-4. Giants are second, they're 11-5. Rockies are third, they're 10-5. Padres are fourth, they're 10-7, and then we have the sad Diamondbacks at 6-10. But the 4 teams are playing pretty good baseball right now, and that's pretty interesting in my opinion. The Padres were on the receiving end of a bit of a blowout yesterday. Last game, and this is one that's going to be talked about very, very much. First thing that happened was when the Phillies. I know that even when like the umpires get in the way of games, the social media accounts that you call it out. First, we had the Orioles social media account calling out Yankees fans saying no playoffs for the Lakers and series loss to the Orioles. Man, it's been a tough week for Yankees fans. So that was funny. But the Phillies national broadcast Twitter tweeted, player of the game was Angel Hernandez. And no, it wasn't a rookie who got called up and hit a home run in a very inspiring story. It was an inspiring story showing that any blind person can do what they want to do. Man, he was just absolutely awful. And his worst call was to Gene Segura, and it was 6 inches off the plate. It's not even like it was 6 inches off the plate. And maybe if you're having the chalk in the batter's box to be the strike zone, but even then it's a terrible call. Yelich would hit a sac fly for the only run. It was a very pitching-heavy game, and why wouldn't it be when the strike zone is about as inconsistent as, let me think of a random player, as, I don't know. It would have been a great time to set up a joke, but I'm more thinking about Angel Hernandez, because this is what the talking point is. I would say that Angel Hernandez, his time needs to be done in baseball. I know we can't get fired because of the union, which I think is kind of ridiculous. That's why I say, and this is going to sound like I'm making it sound like an umpiring job. Umpiring, you can be as bad as you want, and the only way you can get fired is if you're a racist or homophobic or commit a crime or anything. That's obvious. It's one of the few jobs where you can be terrible, 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 and still continue to work. It's just crazy, and it ruins the game. Gene Segura pitch was like 6 inches off the plate, and that wasn't exact. It was like half a foot. Do you know how much 6 inches is? Whenever you're talking about, like, it's not like he missed a call that could have been slightly on the strike. It was just horrible. What's he supposed to do? Swing at his stomach? And then I looked at his umpire scorecard, and he had pitches that were in the strike zone called balls. It's just it's not like he has a big strike zone. Because if he has a big strike zone, hitters will be annoyed, but they'll respect that more because he's consistent. He's consistently bad for them, and good for pitchers, but at least he's consistent. But when you have a guy like Angel who maybe there's a ball, there's a strike, there's a ball, there's a strike, like you can't respect that because you never know what to swing at. You don't know how to have your game, and B, it's just not good. It stagnates your offense because if you have a pitch that's called all the way 6 inches off the plate, a strike, now you're going to be swinging at everything off the plate because you don't want to strike out. So those are my thoughts. In the bottom of the ninth, first of all, I'll say that Eric Lauer had 13 strikeouts. He was pretty good. He didn't end up getting the win because the Brewers couldn't score any runs until the ninth inning. But 13 strikeouts, 1 walk. That's pretty good. But we go to the ninth, bottom of the ninth, where Schwarber's batting, a pitch off the plate. It wasn't a good call. It wasn't the worst call by any means. And that's not saying a whole lot. That's like saying, oh, wow, we only got a couple of raindrops from this tropical storm or something like that. It wasn't the worst call, but it was still a bad call. And Schwarber, he had the perfect ejection. He threw his equipment away from the umpire in frustration. So nobody could say, oh, he threatened the umpire or anything like that. He got his money's worth. It was in a big situation, big moment. And it was basically just the perfect ejection, I would say. And I mean, I can't believe it took this long for a player to finally snap on Angel Hernandez. I mean, I'm surprised. Ian Kinsler seems like a nice guy. Whenever Kinsler got ejected for looking at Angel Hernandez, I'm surprised that he didn't snap right there. But yeah, the Brewers win 1-0. They're looking a lot better than they did the first week of the season. I mean, shocker, the first week of the season isn't everything. The Phillies are 6-10, and they look kind of just how I'd expect them to. So that's cool. I can be right about something. Since I didn't get to do recaps, I think I'm going to add something extra here. I'm going to give previews for the games today. So we only have 7 games today. That's one of the reasons why I'm doing this, but also because I think it would be interesting to do. Giants Brewers. This could be a good series because they're both 2 very good pitching teams. I think the Giants have the edge because I think they're the better offensive team. Rockies Phillies. This is very interesting. It's the opposite of what I thought. Most people probably thought that entering the series, the Phillies would be playing good baseball, and the Rockies would be struggling. That's the opposite. Phillies are 6-10. Rockies are 10-5. I do think that the Phillies are the better team, and I think that this hot streak by the Rockies is unsustainable. I mean, maybe we could see again if they're still doing this well in June. Then okay, yeah, they're probably a good team. But the Phillies, I think that they're going to lose this series because the Rockies have been playing good baseball, and B, I know that there was a tough strike zone. A tough strike zone yesterday for the Phillies. But in the Brewers series, they didn't have very good offense. On Friday, they won 4-2, only 4 runs, which I mean isn't bad, but you still want more from a team that's just based off offense. They only scored 3 runs on Saturday, and they scored no runs on Sunday. So their offense is struggling. The Rockies are hot right now. I'm taking the Rockies over the Phillies. And then we have Red Sox Blue Jays. This could be pretty interesting, especially since the Red Sox are probably trying to break out of a funk that they currently have. They've lost 4. They haven't lost 4 in a row. They're 4-6 in their last 10, I should say, and 2-5 in their last 7. So they're not playing very well right now, but it is only a 7-game stretch. Jose Barrios versus Nate Eovaldi tonight. I think that the Blue Jays have the edge. I think they're better team than the Red Sox. I think that the Red Sox were they had a Cinderella run. It was a cool Cinderella run, but I do think that kind of set expectations too high this season. If they could do it again, sure, they're a playoff contender. I don't know if they're going to be a playoff contender until what's his name? Jeter Downs or Tristan Casas come up. And they need some more pitching, I'd say. Cardinals, Mets. This could be an interesting series. One, if Steven Matz pitches against the Mets. But 2, because both teams are pretty solid. Cardinals are 9-5, 12-5 for the Mets. The Mets, I believe they have the best record in baseball, or at least the most wins. So this could be a good 3-game series. I'm going to take the Mets. Astros Rangers, first of the Lone Star Series. Astros have won 5 or 6 straight silver boots, I believe. That's the thing you get whenever you win whoever the Astros or Rangers, that they have a better season record against each other. then one of them gets a silver boot, and the Astros have won it for like the last 6 years. It's a bit of a technicality because they went 5-5 against the Rangers in 2020, but they had more runs scored, so they still won it. But the Astros are looking to bounce back and get their offense rolling again. Fromber's on the mound tonight against Dane Dunning. Astros are looking to beat the Rangers. The Rangers are trying to keep this. They won 3 games in a row. They're trying to keep that momentum going, even though they lost 2-0 yesterday in Oakland. Also, what's kind of weird and kind of rare is that the Astros kind of have a travel advantage over the Rangers because the Rangers were in Oakland yesterday and the Astros were in Houston. So they didn't have to travel as far as the Rangers. Guardians, Angels. The Guardians are looking to well, actually, I would say both the Guardians and the Angels are looking to put bad series behind them. The Guardians got swept by the Yankees. Of course, the Yankees are a good team, so it's not like it's. I mean, you don't want to get swept, but it's not like that's something to be ashamed of. It's not like losing a series with the Orioles. But yeah, the Guardians. I don't know what yesterday did to them. But they had one of the best WRC pluses in baseball. The Angels do too. So maybe it'll be a high-scoring series. But if the Guardians pitching can lock them down, the Guardians can win the series. Dodgers, Diamondbacks. I think the Dodgers are winning the series. I don't think I need to explain why. And yeah, that's gonna be it. I wanted to do the reviews just because it would be kind of short. I didn't feel good about only having to do 8 or 9 recaps. Of course, I have to do what I have to do sometimes, but I thought I'd give some more because I didn't want to shortchange anybody.
Yeah, some days are just busier than others, and until school's out, you're going to have to do what you got to do. And today was one of those days, but we appreciate the previews of the games for April 25th, which is today. And it's almost time for the Astros and the Rangers, as Parker said, for the Silver Boot. Is that what they call it?
Yeah, I'll definitely be able to do all the games tomorrow because there's only 7 games today.
All right, 7 games tomorrow. So after you finish this one, hit the subscribe button. We'll have 7 more games for you tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you tomorrow.